Let's get into 1074 for One Piece. A new Mark III model for the pacifistas is introduced. Real quick, who you guys got in the fight? Mark III Iron Man or Mark III pacifistas? You let me know. The new pacifista models has a brand new design and it even has a bubble shield, apparently the ultimate defense invented by Vegapunk. We'll have to see about that. I'm real skeptical about these pacifistas. At the moment, the one we see in the chapter is being controlled by Sensomaru. Sensomaru commands all 50 Mark III units to stand by and get ready to deploy because he wants to ensure that Vegapunk leaves safely with Luffy when they depart. Meanwhile, the Straw Hats are gathered together. They're waiting for Vegapunk so they can leave, but Vegapunk is missing at the moment. And they can't find Bonnie either until they locate Bonnie on the transmitting monitor. And here's an image so you can witness dripped out Zoro. Brook and Stussy looks great too, but my man Zoro's killing it right there. For you Sanji versus Zoro people, you guys let me know who's more dripped out right now. As they're looking for Vegapunk, some people decide that it's best for themselves to take a look around, such as Stussy, and immediately once Stussy says this, Sanji starts simping out, telling Stussy to take him with her. Hey, I can't blame you for this one, Sanji. And then the next best thing, Zoro thinks he can take off on his own as always and try to look for Vegapunk as well. Sanji immediately stops him. I'm telling you, one of these days, Zoro's going to be that savior. Somebody's going to get lost again in the future. Zoro's going to head out. Nobody's going to believe in him. And Zoro's going to do the unthinkable right there and be the big hero of the arc. But that day isn't today because everyone else, including Chopper and Robin, they join Sanji to say, no. You sit your ass right down here and you just wait, okay? Zoro does exactly that. He takes a seat back with Luffy. Luffy's out of breath after all that running. And they're sitting right in front of Lucci and Kaku, who are knocked out because of Stussy. Now, here's the real messed up part. Get ready, One Piece fans, because we're about to feel for Kuma and Bonnie in this backstory. It looks like we're heading right into it, or at least the very beginning of it. We cut to Bonnie, and she's witnessing a young Kuma, it looks like. This young Kuma is hurt. He's crying. He's begging for someone to save him. He can't take it anymore. We witness some unknown people for the moment. It's a silhouette. They're beating the crap out of Kuma. You can assume these people are just common people. They're either slaves or just somebody below the Celestial Dragons. I think it's pretty clear, though, that they're slaves afraid of the Celestial Dragons, as most people are. Kuma would rather be killed, he says, and he says if he goes back, he'll die anyway. But the people don't care at all. They tell him to get his ass back. If you escape, they'll kill the rest of us. You can even see the silhouettes of the Celestial Dragons. You can tell by the odd hairstyles, of course. I need to talk to the barbers of the Celestial Dragons. Who the hell put them onto that shit? It's very obvious, though, through the brief flashback that we got with Kuma, that he was a young runaway slave, or he tried to run away, but the Celestial sent their other slaves after him to make sure he doesn't get away. I can't imagine what the punishment would be like for a slave who tries to run away from the dragons. It can't be any good at all. I'm not looking forward to seeing what's going to happen to Kuma. It's probably going to make me and most of you guys break down in tears as most of Oda's backstory does to us. I'm just curious if Kuma was just really important to them or like their favorite slave, as dark as it sounds. Or if it was just a situation where he was just another common slave to them. It's just the fact that he tried to get away, so they made his life more hellish. As you can imagine, though, as Bonnie's witnessing all this, she's crying, she's heartbroken that she's looking at a young Kuma and all the torture and abuse he's taken as a child. She can't interact with any of the memories in that world. She gets ejected shortly afterwards. Next up, the real Kuma. We see him climbing up the red line back into the Holy Lands where the Celestial Dragons are at. Finally, to end the chapter, right to Big News Morgans. I love it anytime we see Big News Morgans. Anytime we see this guy, we know some shit is about to go down in the One Piece world. He always drops the bombshell. He always does something interesting for the story. Or we see somebody interesting. And we do see somebody interesting. Morgans brings up a good point. He says the world government intends to assassinate the beloved Vegapunk. And they plan to kill the world's greatest genius. Everybody in the world knows of Vegapunk and what he's done and what kind of inventions he's created. Unlike O'Hara, this doctor is already well known by most people. Nobody's just gonna go ahead and easily buy into a BS story that they try to build up. This time, to put the world government in his favor, he spins the story. He says, put the headlines, Emperor Straw Hat Luffy takes Vegapunk hostage. Somebody on that ship disagrees with that headline. And that somebody is our Princess Vivi. She is okay, she is alright, and she's actually with Wapol. It is always a good day when we see my favorite girl in One Piece, Vivi, show up again in the story. Naturally, she's upset with that headline. She says Luffy would never do something like that. This is just ridiculous. Wapple's right beside her. He's freaked out. He's saying, keep your voice down. What if there's a wiretap still around here? You don't know what's going to happen. The government will try to erase us. If you guys don't remember, the last time we see these two figures is at the Reverie. We had the chaos during the Reverie between the revolutionaries and the admirals. Bunch of shit went down. I'm sure Vivi and Wapple, they managed to sneak away into Morgan's ship afterwards. I'm not entirely sure about that part. I do remember Wapple was giving information to Morgans at one point. I believe it was during the Warlords when they got disbanded and Morgans received a message from Wapple. So maybe Wapple having his connection with Morgans took him on board and Vivi got tangled up with all that. Another interesting thing to think of is Vivi's on board with Morgans and she says that Luffy would never do something like that. So you can only imagine that she'll accidentally spill how good of a person Luffy is and how the Straw Hats helped her kingdom and it wasn't Smoker and the Marines who helped take down Crocodile. One last thing to point out is I've been seeing the community talk about it and I agree. I'm pretty sure Caribou is the one who was sneaking away to share information with Morgans. How else is Morgans getting information about the Straw Hats and everything that's going on Egghead Island? I'll leave you to think about that. And in the last panel, big news Morgan saying, big talk for a girl who's bawling her eyes out yesterday because her dad just died. It was announced that Korba was killed. He continues with, my words can shake the world. Besides, news isn't about fact or fiction. It's about entertainment. Anyone else think Morgans would be the perfect person to take over TMZ if he was alive in this world? This guy can spin anything and make it seem interesting. And that's the end of the chapter. What a good chapter it was. No break next week, luckily. Can't wait to see where we're going to head on from this point on. Comment what you guys thought on the chapter. You guys let me know. If you're new to the channel, like and sub. I would appreciate it. And I'm going to see you guys in the next one.